So without further ado, Mr. Tyler Whitman, I appreciate you coming on this morning.
I appreciate you asking me. Feeling honored.
Yeah, well, you deserve this. So let's share some knowledge.
All right.
Let's hop right into it. What have you learned? I wrote a list of 6 or 7 questions here, and then, of course, happy to answer questions in the comment section. So if you have some, please share them. We'll get to them in like the last 5 minutes today. We'll do some rapid fire at the end. The past year, right? Been a whirlwind for you.
Yeah.
And it's not just about being on the show, but also your team has really taken off, and your business has taken off, and you've taken off. Let's talk about Tyler Whitman, the salesperson, and Tyler Whitman, the leader. Right, because you're leading a team of what, 6?
Yeah, if you include me, there's 7 of us, 2 of which are operations roles, and then 4 agents under me.
So as a salesperson, what have you learned the past year as strictly a salesperson in dealing with clients? Like, what's been the aha that you've seen yourself leveling up as a great salesperson?
I think like I always had envisioned myself, being like a high-end real estate broker in the city, and I had never really taken action, and the opportunities are interesting because all you have to do is talk to people, and it seems like so simple, but I think we like make it this mountain of a thing in our heads. And so obviously last year, I had this huge goal of like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get my first $10 million listing. And then I started to, and so I was like, oh, these are going to be harder conversations. These are going to be more difficult pitches. And the truth was they're exactly the same as my $2 million pitches, as my $3 million pitches, as my $500,000 pitches. It's all the same, and they're all just people just like us. But we make these assumptions that, oh, they're going to have these crazy high expectations and I'm going to need to be something that I'm not. And that is just not the case. I think, harnessing your authenticity and your superpower will serve you at any single price point, and you don't need to alter who you are or step into some persona other than the most confident version of yourself. And they talk about that a lot in like the Tom Ferry coaching world, is that you have to like, put on your imaginary cape every time you go in for a pitch. But like, I think in my head, I had decided like, oh, I was like, these are going to be very intimidating people. These are going to be people with very high expectations. And they're not. They're people that just want to feel like we have their best interest at heart, that we're going to take good care of them, that we're excited about the job, and that we have a unique value proposition. And I was like, oh, the same thing that my $500,000 sellers care about. Got it.
It's interesting. It's that, I'm hearing a lot of things in that, right? That limiting belief. It could be the same limit. So you could almost reverse that to the person that's like, oh my God, I've only done one deal. What happens if they know I only done one deal? Yeah. Right? That limiting belief that you can't service that person because you've only done one deal.
Right. And, I'm running into that in the Hamptons, right? So like, I've never listed anything in the Hamptons. All of the business I've done out here so far has been referral based. And so, my limiting belief now is like, why are they going to list with me, a new boy in town, versus the standard guard? And then every single person that I meet with, you start to realize that people are caring less and less about what you've done and more about who you are. And so, I just go back to the basics with every single person I'm talking to. And I'm like, make them feel safe, make them feel like they can trust me, make them feel like I have their best interest at heart. And the rest should be easy. And most people don't even ask me what my history is in the city, or history is in the Hamptons. I'm like, well, if they're not asking, I'm not telling.
No, but it's so true, right? I mean, it's people make it much more difficult than it needs to be.
Yeah.
It's so true. That's great. I love that. Okay, let's go on to the next part let's go to part B of the salesperson. Let's pop to leadership, right? Because you were in leadership right when I first met you.
Yep.
In that office on Broadway. And
distant memories.
Yeah, wow. It does seem like a whole lifetime ago. really is unbelievable. Um, Talk to me about what you've learned about yourself, about being a better leader, because that comes in, right, all shapes and sizes. And I think whether you're leading your assistant, whether you're leading a team of 8 people, I love some of your insight there.
Yeah, that's been, and I hope my team would agree with this. This has probably been where I've evolved the most in the last year, and specifically during this COVID experience. It really got me to sit back and analyze what I'm good at, what I need to work on, and what my team responds to the most. And so I would say like the key ingredients to being a leader that took me a while to learn would be definitely patience. There's part of me that, and I think that's part of human nature, is like you want to start at the top because you see the people at the top, and that's who you compare yourself to, and that's like the goals that you're setting for yourself. And then you realize like there's a ladder to climb, and you have to celebrate every rung that you go up. And then and it's funny because like you start to look back at the journey and it all feels like it happened so fast, and you're like, oh wow, like in 3 short years, look at what we've created, look at what we've done. So I would say that's the second step, is looking back and celebrating the progress. So I guess I'm going with some P's. So patience, progress, and then most importantly, the area that I've invested in most in the last year has been process. So patience, progress, and process.
How about, though, one of the challenges I think leaders struggle with in real estate is, a lot of the ego driven, if I don't do it, it won't get done right. I have a tough time delegating. I have a tough time letting go.
Oh yeah.
How was that? Because obviously, and I think everybody, I tell this to people in our business all the time, even if it's on a smaller scale or a larger scale, this business is about leverage, right? You should really never touch something that you can give to somebody else at $15 an hour. So this business in general is about leverage. And as you get higher levels, you're going to probably spend most of your time talking to owners and less time, working with buyers.
Yep. So
my microphone's been off the whole time, hasn't it?
No, but I got like a little notification that says Eric Barron has been muted.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Is that a hint? Because I'm looking at this, and all of a sudden I saw my mute button go, and I'm like, did anyone just hear none of that? Or, okay, good. So
you were only silenced for like 3 seconds.
Good. Share with me about, leverage, letting go, and that whole shift for someone that's in a leadership position.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest personal challenge that I went through. And also I'm very fortunate that like my team, we don't really have any drama. We get along really well. Every now and then there's like something we have to change and fix, but like we handle things quickly.
Why don't you have drama? Why don't you have? Because you hear drama all the time on teams throughout the industry. Why don't you have drama?
I know why I don't have drama. It's because I've created an environment, and I've been selective with the people that I've added to the team, firstly. But we've created a very open environment. We handle things when they're small potatoes. We don't let things fester. We don't let things grow. And so, and we're all comfortable with each other because we share the common goal of like, we want to be the absolute best. And so we know that any feedback is coming from a place of wanting to get better and not from a place of let's fight, I'm so upset, blah, blah, blah. It's coming from a place of this isn't working and here's what I think we need to be doing instead. One thing that we did struggle with was there were like, Tyler, we're on your team to share in your business, and you give us some, but you sure do keep a lot for yourself, which was, I think I went through what every leader goes through is like, mine wasn't so much about not trusting my team to get it done. It was about a fear of my clients feeling like they weren't good enough for me. I'd let the show go to my head. And so like, I wasn't going to work with them anymore. So it had nothing to do with the talent level of my team. I think my team is just as talented as I am. As a matter of fact, I think some of them are better closers than me. But I was afraid that my clients would be like, really, you're not going to work with me? Which was also a story that I made up in my head because nobody gives a shit. So while I was during COVID, I started having this two mantras that were kind of in line with what you said. Was one, the only way I'm going to grow is if I let go. And and that's been one that I have to think about every single day, because there is still a little part of me that's like, I have to hold on, like I want to do this. But at the same regard, I know that, the only way I'm going to hit our goals of expanding into other markets and being out here in the Hamptons and growing a big business here is if I truly create a business process where I can give as much of my business as possible away to my agents and empower them to grow under me. And then the other side of that is it's also going to create more loyalty within my team, because I always say, like, eventually my team is going to want to leave and start their team. But then there's also part of me, I was thinking about this yesterday, is that in my Triple Your Business class, I was telling people, I was like, you have to design the life that you want. And I was like, not everybody wants to lead a team. It's a different style of business. Some people just want to be out there and selling. And I actually think that that's a lot of members of my team. And I was like, I can put them in a great position to just constantly have business in their pipeline and go out there and sell. And then we'll run the operations and make it as easy as possible for them to make as much money as humanly possible. And I really do believe that we've created a business model that allows for that. And it's one of the biggest, perks of being on the team.
Awesome. Finish this sentence, and you could finish it a couple different times. The most productive agents you've met
have very high energy. And
okay.
So
very high energy, period. Now, I don't know why I'm thinking of this person, because you introduced me. I mean, Glenda Baker, right? In Atlanta.
Yeah.
But what else? Give me the most productive agents you've met.
Have rock solid mindsets. It's the number one key ingredient.
How do you
get up when you get knocked down?
But you say rock solid mindsets, but let's be honest, right? We get punched in the face every day. There's such highs and lows. Yep. So without saying I'm going to be in coaching, right? Because obviously we know what a wonderful thing that is, and I'll ask you a question about that in a second. What, as you're getting punched in the face every day and you're faced with these highs and lows, what are some little things you can do to maintain that rock solid mindset?
Okay, so I have a lot of sayings that I for some reason I live my life telling myself inspirational quotes that I've stolen from other people. Okay. So anytime I get knocked down, instead of being like, why me? My first thought now is, what's the lesson? Like, what did I need to learn here? And kind of just a mantra is like, okay, I'm learning. But
that's so important, right? As soon as you get, because it could easily be, if you've had 2 deals in a row, 2 or 3 deals in a row fall apart, you're like, oh my God, just such bad luck. Versus right away you go to that place versus saying, okay, what can I learn from this? You got to just immediately flick the switch and shift the mindset to, okay, how do I learn from this?
Exactly.
Great. I love that. Look at that. Always learning. Sorry, what were you going to say? Were you going to say something? Because I was going to ask you another question.
Yeah, I think the, one thing that I always remember is that the only thing I'm in control over is my actions and my reactions, but ultimately how somebody else handles the situation and ultimately what their thoughts are exactly that. And, it's nothing that I can control or take personally, or, and so you have to learn what you're actually responsible for. Because I think my weakness is that I care very much of what other people think of me. And that's a little bit of ego. That's a little bit of I want to be loved. I want to make sure that people think I'm amazing, because that's my goal in life, is to make everybody feel amazing. And I hope that in turn makes me amazing in their eyes.
You can't control other people's reactions.
Exactly. And so I walk away from things, because I don't get every listing that I go for. You know, there's a lot of people that I'm not their cup of tea. And, you know, making peace with the fact that one of my favorite sayings is, if you're for everybody, you're for nobody. And I actually quote you a lot, Eric Barron, because one of the first classes I took from you was I remember you saying you only need 10% of the 10% of people need to like you for you to be a superstar. And you were comparing it because at that time we were about to do the 2016 election, and you were like, look at our two nominees, two of the most hated people in the country. So
No, it's true though. What would you rather have, right? Would you rather have 80 people, 80%? Would you rather have 60% of the people like you, or 10 or 15% of people love you? If you look at the numbers, you'd rather have 10 or 15% of people love you.
yeah, there's a show for all my musical theater nerds out there called Title of Show that was briefly on Broadway. The famous lyric from one of their songs was, "I'd rather be 9 people's favorite thing than 100 people's ninth favorite thing." And I love that. I say that all the time. I'm like, I'll be 9 people's favorite over 100 people's ninth favorite any day.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Okay, so you talk about coaching a lot, right? And I know you've had, multiple coaches over the years, and you've really committed to self-improvement and been open and vulnerable. And I always say that is one of your best characteristics, that you're always striving to be better.
Thank you, sir.
And I've always respected that about you. And I think no matter what stage you're at in life, even the best want to get better or remain at the top, right?
Yep.
What is the biggest myth? Because people, when you say coaching and mindset, there's a lot of us, like myself, right, the being the jaded New Yorker, back in the day, at least for me, roll your eyes, right? Oh my God, coaching mindset.
Yeah.
What is the biggest misconception about coaching that you think people have?
Well, the biggest misconception, coaching is exactly what you believe it is, because you do have to buy into it when you go in. And so I don't know if I can actually say that there's a misconception, because if you go into coaching thinking that it's hokey and that it's cheesy, you're probably going to find the experience to be hokey and cheesy. Or if you go into the experience believing what I'm learning is that a lot of the most successful agents in the country have coaches, and everything that I read says that they wake up and they meditate and they do mantras and they do affirmations, and then they exercise and they take cold showers and they do all these building blocks. And they're like, but how does that make you money? Right? Like, how does that make you money? And I'm like, because when I show up to the office at 9 a.m. every day, the amount of things that I've already done in my day are, today, I've meditated, I've done affirmations, I've written in my journal, I've read a chapter of a book that I'm reading, I've worked out, I've ridden my horse, and at 9 a.m. I'm, fired up and ready to go to have this conversation. And, that's the energy that I'm going to carry throughout the day. Whereas a lot of people, they wake up and then they hate the mornings, and then that energy carries into their work. And, it's all about energy, and coaching is to bring out the best version of yourself, the highest level of confidence that you can have, so that when you go out there, because you're a performer, we're all performers as salespeople. And that's really, it's not who it's really who's putting on the best performance. It's like being an athlete, and our version of training as athletes is how we take care of ourselves and how we level up and truly believe in ourselves, because that shows up in every single presentation that we do, whether with a buyer, seller, or a renter, or if you're selling knives or lawnmowers, it doesn't matter. These are the things that it takes to give a performance to the person you're trying to spend money with.
What would you have done differently looking back and launching the team? I'm going back to the team again because, I'm such a big believer, and we're going to continue as a company to really strive towards putting together, best practices for building teams. And teams don't have to be massive. Teams could be teams of 3, an assistant and 1 agent.
Yep.
They don't have to be 11 agents. They surely don't have to be 11 agents. So I really want to focus on, best practices for leveling up and scaling. What would you have done differently, looking back, being reflective?
So firstly, I will say I am in a position where I stepped in shit and got lucky. And the fact that I didn't know what I was doing when I started a team. But one thing that I've always had a natural gift for is is understanding and selecting great people to surround myself with. So the fact that, my first iteration of the team started with Josh, Ashley, and Myrna, and Myrna would still be on my team, if but she decided she wanted to be a full-time mom. But that initial group of 4 was amazing. The biggest mistake that I made, and still look back and I'm like, damn it. And I got ringed for it this week. I don't know if Bailey's on this. She knows what I'm about to say. Would be how I've structured commissions over the years. And every coach that I've ever had has said, do not put together some intricate split model. You don't, the worst thing you can do is create, a bunch of if this, then this split.
I remember your first one. It was great. If this, then that, 5 times over.
No, there was like 10 scenarios. And I remember I was so proud of it. I was like, wow, I've really thought through every single scenario. And then it was like such a nightmare to like track what came from what. And then, we have fallen into something that does really work for us. So we went back to just one split model. That eventually, which is exactly what all the coaches wanted us to do, that eventually didn't work out because I needed to keep my team members happy. And so I put in a few if-then scenarios, and mainly incentivizing scenarios. So like when they hit certain thresholds, the split increases, and that's actually served the team really, really well. They're more motivated, they're more competitive. But I have a new coach. She's the best coach I've had by a million miles so far when it comes to business. And Bailey and I had our second call with her this week, and she was going through our commission model, and she lost her shit. And she, not in a good way. I mean, she's like, she's like, you need one split. She's like, one split to be on the team. She's like, no matter if they're selling $100 million or $1 million, it's one split. And the reason she's saying that is because she was like, I want to roll out this program, this program, this program, this program, this program. And she's like, and because she literally said this, she was like, because you've completely fucked up your commission models and you didn't listen to any of your coaches, she was like, we're going to have a hard time scaling this. Bailey and I ultimately, talked her into, we're like, what we're doing right now is working for the team. The team is really motivated, but I wish looking back on it that maybe I'd stuck to my guns knowing what I know now. The other thing I wish I had done earlier that has been monumental for my team is just quarterly sales competitions. I didn't realize, because I'm not the most competitive person in the world, but I think that I'm unique in that sense. I think most salespeople are very competitive, and putting in fun sales competitions with epic prizes. I give very good, very expensive prizes, so people really fight for them, has gotten every single one of my teammates to level up in a tremendous way. And then sorry, somebody called me. I'm here. Anyway, but that's been one of the magic tricks of the team, is that I'm just like, oh, come up with a competition and we will thrive.
You know what? And you get a free horse. The
horses are expensive, Pumpkin. That's not the prize.
You mentioned something earlier. Yeah, there you go. Ashley's like, I want a horse. There you go. That's your next competition. Sorry, Tyler.
Listen, Ashley, do you know, because Ashley did win the annual competition last year, and I bought her a first class trip to Italy. It was a little bit of shit timing because, but she still has the first class trip to Italy. I paid for Josh won one, and I paid for his honeymoon. Another one was Tara one was a staycation, and so she got like a beautiful hotel suite at the William Vale.
Okay, stop bragging. Okay, we got it.
No, but it's like I hook them up, like they're.
Why not? But you know what? It's funny. I always tell team leaders over the years, just treat your team members properly, right? Come from abundance, not from scarcity, and you will win.
Yep.
And that's what you're doing. I want to go back to something you said earlier about, I think you said, I'm not for everyone.
Yeah.
We talk about salespeople come in all shapes and sizes, all different types of personality styles. What personality style do you struggle with the most? How have you adapted? We talk about, salespeople talk about, do I adapt? Do I not? Do I model someone's behavior? What does it mean to be a great salesperson? Ooh, I don't even like the word salesperson. It sounds sleazy. I always tell salespeople to get comfortable with that. One of the hardest professions, if not the hardest profession, is being a great salesperson. Because it takes, really being patient, listening, mastering your people skills, which is, right, you don't learn that in college.
Yep.
What style do you struggle with the most, and how have you adapted accordingly? And on that, you're somewhat freezing on me. Oh, you're back.
So this is probably going to surprise you.
Oh, you're a little.
Am I? Oh, okay. Everything's crystal clear on my end.
You're blurry.
Am I good?
You're blurry. I like you better this way.
Am I blurry for everybody, or is it just for?
I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk.
Keep going.
We'll see how it goes.
Okay. Oh, Marnie says you're blurry for all.
Oh shit.
Okay, you're blurry. Okay, better. Let's.
Okay.
Better. Good. Awesome.
Okay. So believe it or not, the personality type that I struggle with the most, for sure, is actually people like me. People who are high energy, a little emotional. I found that I am not as patient with those people, because even though I'm very high energy and I'm an I actually have a lot of D in me. Like, I'm very much of like, can we just get this done? Can we go? Can we, and so I struggle with, like right now I have this listing that's touch and go in terms of whether or not I'm going to get it, but I really want the listing. It's a special apartment on the Upper West Side, but I mean, the client is such a high energy kind of like wackadoo that I'm like, oh God, I was like, this might be a bigger challenge than I want it to be. Whereas I've actually learned that my secret weapon is, if I'm talking to a very serious, very analytical client, or a very high D, like type A driver client, I actually find that I perform really well with those people because I tap into that part of my personality and they're not expecting it. I think they're expecting me to be more ridiculous. And I get complimented on this a lot by my clients. They're like, oh, you're much more of a business person than I was expecting you to be. And I think they find me an attractive choice because I give them what they want, we deliver, but then they're like, and I enjoy his personality. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think they're charmed by me.
Okay, but why do you say you're not for everybody? What did you mean by that?
Because I think that just like, I don't know, different strokes for different folks. I think there's a lot of people who
know
find
something
me
about yourself. Are you too direct? Are you too honest? I mean, you're saying a lot of the things that, right? You're being very adaptable. You're recognizing what the client's needs are. You even said, right, people expect you to be, right, it's the show. It's Tyler the show, but now I have Tyler the business person in front of me. That's what I just heard you say, right? Which is refreshing for people, because they were expecting just the show. So when you talk about adapting and you talk about relating to people that may not be in your sweet spot, you're telling me what you just said, that one of your biggest challenges are people that are somewhat similar.
Good question.
I don't mean to get deep on this. I just, one of the biggest challenges, right, any salesperson has is connecting with another human being and deciding how.
Yeah, I think, no, it's totally there.
Your connection, Tyler.
Yeah. I think maybe some people want me to be more serious. Am I really? I have like a full signal.
Okay, we're almost out of time anyway, so let's just try and, okay. We can hear, keep going. We can still hear you. It's okay. Everybody was wishing that I was blurry.
Am I there?
Yeah, you're here.
Okay. All right. I know. It's so strange. It's like everything's crystal clear on my end and I have a high signal. Yeah, I would just say that, I think some people do find me to be too playful. I think some people think that my playfulness is makes devalues my serious stuff. And I don't know if that
Mm.
people take my serious stuff as seriously as they should, because they're like, oh, you're kind of like some people might think I'm a joke, right? Or some people need the smackdown. They need somebody who's like a little bit more intimidating. They need somebody who's just like, I'm just here to close. I'm just here to do work. I'm not here to be your friend. And I think some people need that in the process, and I'm not that person. And I look at people, there's tons of super successful agents in our industry who I think are really huge jerks, and I'm like, how did you get to where you are? And then I realized, I'm like, oh, some people need that. Like, that's what some people are looking for. And so, yeah, I'm not that person.
Final thought you want to leave people with as we open up on Monday?
I think it's going to be interesting, and I think a lot of people have been trying to predict what to expect, and nobody can. So remain present, remain open, and just know that doing right by your client is always going to give you the biggest check, even if that check isn't immediate. So just make sure that you're coming from a place of gratitude for the business and from a place of caring. And if you are grateful for the business and you truly care, whether or not that this turns into a deal right now, people will remember that. That's what people care about most. And that's how your business will grow the most. Because there's going to be, as we reopen, I think there's going to be a lot of fear and uncertainty in both buyers and sellers. Sellers are going to have fear of losing money because of all the uncertainty in the market, and buyers are going to have fear of spending money because of all the uncertainty in the market. And it's going to be our job to stay positive, encourage them, help them make the right decisions. And I think sometimes it's going to be hard. Sometimes you're going to be telling people some tough news. So just be honest and make sure that you care.
Awesome final thoughts. Have a great day, babe.
You too. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.